Hi guys, today I'll be talking about Dekoni audio and I will be also replacing earpads on some of my favorite pairs of headphones. Hey, I'm Alexander and this channel is dedicated to honest and comprehensive reviews of headphones, IEMs, decks, amps and microphones. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click the notification bell. Today we'll be talking about Dekoni audio, and for those who doesn't know who Dekoni audio are, they are a manufacturer of really high quality earpads and ear tips. It's important to mention that the earpads you see on my table, they were kindly sent to me by Dekoni Audio in exchange for my honest review. So I'm not getting paid to make this review, so all thoughts and opinions in today's video are my own. Let's start with the unboxing. In today's review, I'll also share my opinion regarding how using the Dekoni earpads has changed the sound signature of my headphones, as well as I'll tell you which of the four models I actually have chosen for my DT880 and DT990 from Beyerdynamic. So the first earpads are fenestrated Elite, and those are earpads from a perforated sheepskin leather. These earpads were designed the way to be more breathable and at the same time to be cooler, especially if you are living in a hot climate. Generally, as Dekoni says, this type of the earpads, they help the headphones to preserve a clear sound as well as the sound stage, because they minimize the sound reflections before they get to your ear. And generally speaking, these earpads, they remind me of a very high quality leather seats in a really good sports car, and the earpads are generally providing you a very nice comfort, especially if you're spending a lot of hours in headphones. The second pair of earpads is Elite Hybrid. So generally Elite Hybrid is made out of three parts. So the first part that is touching your ears and your head, it's made out of the velour, and the external ring of the earpads is made from leather, and the inner ring is made from a perforated real leather. So generally the external ring, it improves the isolation. The velour part that is touching your ear and your head is generally making the earpads more soft, and the internal ring that is made from perforated leather, it actually helps you to preserve the natural sound of your headphones. Third earpads are Elite Velour. Dekoni spent a lot of time to develop this pair of the earpads because they wanted it to make a really comfortable velour pads, and from another side they wanted to minimize the influence of the velour pads to the sound signature of your headphones. It's also important to mention that Dekoni is actually using quite a dense type of velour in these earpads, and I think this was made for two reasons. The first reason is to preserve the bass, the low frequencies of your headphones. And the second reason was to improve the sound isolation, because if you're familiar with headphones that are using a velour pads, sound isolation is not the best. For example, if we compare it to leather earpads. And the fourth pair of earpads is Elite Sheepskin. So Dekoni actually took a very high quality memory foam and they wrapped this memory foam in a very soft, elastic and high quality sheepskin leather. As a result, here comes the earpads that from one side they're actually improving the sound isolation, they also increase the comfort, and at the same time they make the sound stage a little bit more wide. This pair of earpads is really comfortable, and even if you're wearing glasses, you'll have no problems with the isolation because they're sitting on your head and your ears really well. If you're subscribed to my channel, you probably know that I'm always suggesting that you use the original earpads because first of all you can preserve the original sound signature, and at the same time you can just preserve the level of the comfort that you're familiar with. But it's also important to mention that there is a comfort, there's a quality of materials, of course there are looks, and also a desire to make some sound experiments. So as you currently can see on the screen, and judging by the looks of earpads on my DT880 and DT990, it looks like I should have replaced them a long time ago. So for a few days I have been experimenting with Dekoni earpads, and I have been recording all my notes as well as my impressions when I was using the earpads from Dekoni with DT880 and DT990. And finally I have chosen one pair of Dekoni earpads that I think suits DT880 and 990 the most. So I'll start with DT880. With Elite Fenestrated, I think that the headphones became a little bit more bright, and at the same time they started to lack a little bit of bass, and at the same time the details, the bass head, it's on the same level. But I think that overall sound signature became more balanced. With Elite Hybrid, there was significant change in the bass increase, but overall tonality of the headphones changed, and changed for the worse. In my opinion, soundstage became a little bit more narrow. At the same time, the overall presentation of sound became a little bit more dense. With Elite Velour, and despite the fact that original earpads from Beyerdynamic are also made from velour, when I was using the Elite Velour from Dekoni with DT880, I think that the sound tonality changed. I think that overall sound of the headphones became more relaxed, the soundstage became a little bit more wide, and there was a slight increase in details on low frequencies. With Elite Sheepskin, the overall sound of the headphones became more aggressive. There was more energy on low frequencies on the bass, so bass actually had more energy, and the overall presentation of music became more focused, but at the same time the mids and the high, they lost a little bit of their details. So in my case for DT880 I have chosen Elite Velour, and despite the fact that original earpads from Beyerdynamic are actually high quality, I think that earpads from Dekoni, first of all, they're a level up when we're talking about the comfort, and at the same time they changed the sound signature of DT880 a little bit, and I can tell you that I like this signature more compared to the stock signature of DT880. Now let's talk about DT990. So the first pair of earpads that I put on DT990 was Elite Fenestrated, and from the first moment I thought that the sound signature was the same, so it was the original sound signature, but about 10 minutes into listening I realized that overall sound signature became more smooth, and this became more noticeable with high frequencies. In my opinion, also there was a change of the soundstage, so soundstage became a little bit wide, but at the same time the headphones, they preserved actually the details. Second pair I tried with DT990 was Elite Hybrid, and I think it's most amazing pair of the earpads, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the sound signature became a really smooth, but at the same time it became really focused. So it sounded like someone actually made the high frequencies really smooth, but they preserved the details, but at the same time the mids, they were moved a little bit forward. So the vocal tracks started to sound a little bit more airy, a little bit more open. With Elite Velour, I think that DT990 had the most significant change in tonality, and I think it was a change for the worse. Because sound of DT990 with Elite Velour, it became actually very soft, and there was a lack for details, lack for air, especially on the higher frequencies. But looking from the other perspective, if you want a more soft sound from your pair of DT990, maybe then you'll like this pair of the earpads. And the last pair of earpads that I put on DT990 was Elite Sheepskin. So the overall sound signature became more aggressive. There have been also some gain on the details, especially on the low frequencies on the bass, so there be more details with the bass, and overall presentation of music became more focused. But at the same time, high frequencies became more sibilant, unfortunately. And in addition to these changes, I also realized that the soundstage became a little bit more narrow. So in the end, with the DT990, I had to choose between two pair of earpads. It was Elite Fenestrated and Elite Hybrid. So after the final consideration, I went with Elite Hybrid, and I'll tell you why. First of all, they really increased the comfort, and the comfort is on the next level. The second is the sound signature change. Yes, there is a slight change in the sound signature, but in a good way, because compared to the original sound signature, the mids are a little bit moved forward. So overall, I think that with this pair of the earpads, DT990 sounds a little bit more balanced. Alright, let's summarize. The first thing that I would like to mention that the earpads from Dekoni Audio are superior to the standard Beyerdynamic earpads, both in terms of quality and also in terms of comfort and tactile sensations, but they're also more expensive. The second thing I'd like to mention is the change in sound signatures. The changes were small but still noticeable. Although it's worth mentioning that no earpads made the sound of headphones downright unrecognizable. It is also important to remember that almost any non-original earpads will result in a change of the sound signatures. So if you absolutely can't tolerate such changes, it makes sense for you to buy only original earpads. However, if you're open to sonic experimentation and you want to take your comfort to the next level, and at the same time you can tolerate subtle changes in the sound signature of your headphones, I think that Dekoni Audio's earpads are one of the best deals currently on the market. Alright guys, that's all from me for today, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click the notification bell. See you in the next video. Goodbye.